Now, sales is number one for you. If they were a great salesman, you would bet on them. If they were a great salesman with something to prove, that's like the golden ticket, it sounds like. So how does someone train to be a great salesman if they don't know how to? Is it something they can learn? Or is it something you just have to be a part of your energy?
Well, you had a question about positive. That's the blood that goes through a great salesman. Seeing the positive side of anything. And a lot of people see that as baloney. I don't. It's just like, you show me a negative and I'll say, you know, you're right, it's a negative. But I can tell you what the upside of that negative is. So you have a bend toward being positive. So you must have that, okay, to be a salesman. If you don't, you'll never become a salesman. I don't care how hard you try. I think it's an intrinsic quality, a personality trait. I know you're not supposed to say that. Everybody's supposed to believe you could become a salesman. I think if you're inclined to be outgoing and positive, you can become a better salesperson. But the real phenomenal salespeople that I have worked with, and I've made my living my whole life in different venues with phenomenal salespeople, I am telling you, they come out of the gate, maybe not out of the womb, but they come out of the adolescent gate as salespeople. It's very hard to teach that. It's an artistic gift to be able to sell really well, because think of how complicated it is. You have to read the situation accurately. You have to read the person and think of how you could use them in the way that they want to use themselves and thank you in a thank you note 12 hours later thinking it was their idea. That's a complicated little thing, right? And you need to think of how that person could be used for your long-term goal or the picture you want to create. So that's very complicated math in the head. And that's what great salespeople do. They're phenomenal. The best salesman, I hate to say it, that I ever met in my life and spent endless hours with him is Donald Trump.
Really?
Unbelievable salesman.
How so? What was it that made him so great?
He can read the vulnerability of people. You walk into the room, he could see what's wrong with you. He could just feel and know accurately what's wrong with you and how he's going to use that to get his way. It's an instinctive trait. I don't know if he was that way at 12, but I met him at, I guess I worked with him since he was 27, 28. He is just a couple of years older than me. And we were in the same industry, the same town, so I had so many good dealings with him over the years until, of course, he owed me money, and I had to sue him, and then he didn't like me anymore. That's all right. I got the money. That's all that counts. But he is he could sell anyone anything. I've witnessed it again and again, firsthand in his office, in meetings. Unbelievable salesman, and that's exactly what he did with the American people. He sold them.
Wow.
You know, he's a great salesman.
What's the vulnerabilities that he would look for, and how would he use those to get people to buy what he was selling?
Oh God, I'm thinking of a million stories of him using my own vulnerabilities.
Really?
Yeah, but they're kind of too long-winded to tell, I guess.
What's one he would use with you, and then one you saw him use with someone else? Like a vulnerability they have, and then what he did to lean into that.
Well, you know, actually I'm like on scary turf here because I don't want, I've been sued by him and he's relentless. Okay. Yeah, so but let me just do it
in a positive way.
Okay, my most positive self. Okay. So for example, I saw him, maybe a silly example, but I saw him interviewing huge ad agencies in New York for an advertising campaign, done all the time by large developers, right? And I saw him
to promote a building that he was building. To promote a building.
He's going to spend a lot of money advertising. That's a sizable account for any ad agency in New York. And also how to market it, how to frame it, how to name it, marketing/sales, but most importantly, sales and advertising. And I saw him sit at a meeting because I was there judging who was the best person along with them for a development site. And I saw him meet person after person like a beauty contest, person after person after person, and then blow up the ego of one team. Unbelievable what you created here, unbelievable. And I'm like, I don't get it. I'm a marketing person. I don't get it. I don't get it. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Can you do this? Can you do that? And that was all done. And then he did the advertising on his own. But I could see, why is he doing this? But now, in hindsight, I see, he knew that guy was going to float and work for free because he needed the ego pet so much. You know? Yeah. And I'll give you a story of me that will sound, you'll think I'm a witchcraft person. I'm really not, you know. But I had a situation where my husband was a Navy captain and was sinking tanks along the East Coast. And Donald had just bought Mar-a-Lago, and there were erosion issues. So my husband said to me, why don't you call Donald Trump and ask him if he wants me to sink those tanks in there? And I'll do it right along his coast, courtesy of the U.S. Navy. We need the exercise. I got the tanks. Huh. I said, I'm not going to ask him for anything. He said, no, it's a favor. I'm not asking for anything. He's not the kind of man I want to owe anything to. No, thank you, Bill. My husband badgered me. Finally, I wrote a note saying, just on the off chance you're interested. Cowardly way to do it. I'm writing him a note. I saw the man all the time. Just on the off chance you're interested. I thought maybe I rewrote it, because I didn't want it to look like a favor. I was careful. Okay, my danger gene. Sent him the note. Got hired for a big job. We were at a big board meeting with like 30 people there. Every captain of the industry of the different trades was there. He's building me up for weeks. Barbara. And then he decided he got out of me what he needed, and he said, did I ever tell you guys about the time Barbara wrote the note? I'm like sitting there going, no. He goes, yep. She was so afraid to ask me.
Wow.
That she must have written the note. How many times, Barbara? 4 or 5 times.
No way.
I was like, I thought I was in some kind of a horror movie. Everybody's looking at me. She writes a note. She's afraid of you. Only the week before, I was amazing. He was done with me. I knew it. Didn't want to pay the commission. Done. Contract never got done.
No way.
So that is an acute ability to read vulnerability. How would he know that? To this day, I'm like, but I saw him do that over and over. He's just, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you know, when I was selling real estate, I could always pick up between the lines between what people said they would buy and what they'd actually buy. So they'd say they wanted a terrace. Had to have a terrace. They were leaving for the terrace. And I knew as sure as I knew my name that they weren't going to buy a terrace, that I was going to sell them instead on a view apartment in a new building versus a terrace in an old building that they wanted. Because what they were really looking for was charisma. That's an ability to read people, okay, and be able to substitute. So that's another version of that, but on the negative side.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
You did it in a positive way. Yeah.
Yeah, I could have done a negative way if I had that ability. I didn't.
Sure. Wow.
You know? Yeah. Weird story, right? I'm so sorry you had me tell it, because I don't like to talk about Mr. Trump.
Yeah, it's okay.
Don't let this one out. Edit this out.
It's okay. Wow. So how did you see this with people then, where you could shift what they wanted to something that you could still sell them in a positive way? Like you said, they wanted the terrace, but I knew they just wanted charisma. Like, how do you spot that personally when you're selling a home or something else?
I think most of us, if we listen well, could sense it. I think what it is, it's all in the delivery. You know, first of all, very often you're selling couples or a single person, and you have time to chat. If you get below the person's skin and kind of figure out what kind of person you are, very often you know better than they know what's going to make them happy. They could be repeating what their peers said they should have, or the way they, you know, you don't know where it comes from, but get to know them and you could reach your own conclusion. So I really found that the old slogan, buyers are liars, is really true.
Wow.
They don't mean to lie, but what you've really got to do is, in any sales situation, really get into the person, ask a lot of questions, and try it. Like if you, after you were visiting with someone, trying to sell them something, someone said, what do they like? What would you say about them? What do they really like? What would you say about them? That's where you find where the soft material to sell is, I think.
If you were given 3 questions to ask any buyer, potential buyer, they came into you, you can only ask them 3 questions.
Yes.
To try to figure out who they really were, what they were really interested in, or what you could potentially sell them.
Yeah.
What would you say, or maybe 2 or 3 of these questions that you would ask to see what you could get out of them?
Yeah. The first question I would ask is, when do you need it for? Urgency is 90% of it.
Interesting.
The second question I would ask is, when do you need it for? And the third is, when do you need it for?
Really? The rest doesn't matter.
Because if you have a motivated person who needs something, you've got a sale.
It doesn't matter. They're like, we need it
Well,
next
it
week.
does matter. You have time to figure it out. But you get, instead, like as a real estate salesman, in a typical qualifying, and all my qualifying forms that I taught every salesman, every manager used my entire life, first question bolded, the only one bolded, when do you need it for? Because salespeople say, oh, so what are you looking for? No, they miss the big question. When do you need it for?
Interesting.
Because they will move all over the board as to what they'll actually see and what they'll actually buy. And you have all the time in the world, because how do you really know that? Because you haven't spent time with them. You're going to actually believe what you hear. It's crazy. You need to spend the time to form your own impression of what they're really going to buy, or what is just really where the sale is, or where's the opportunities. It doesn't just have to be in sales, it's in business deals, it's everything. You need to have the ability to spend time enough to read them well. But the one thing you can ask up front is, when do you need it for? Because I had more salespeople in the early years spin their wheels endlessly with the higher priced customer, all cash, this and that, price is no limit, but they didn't need it.
For years.
And they were going to work with them for years and spend all that cab fare and car services. No, the need is the most important question you want in any sales situation. And any salesman that comes in and doesn't vet that out right away or on the phone is not a good salesman. I could tell right away, not a good salesman. They miss the main question. Yeah.
What's the thing you're most proud of that no one knows about?
There's really nothing that no one doesn't know about. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What's in my mind is on my tongue, out of my mouth. You know, one of those. There's really nothing that people don't know about, really. If I wish I could come up with new stuff. I'm so tired of talking about the same stuff.
What's the thing that you're proud of that you're just proud of the most that you've done? And maybe you don't talk about all the time, but something you've done. Maybe it could be something small or big.
Mm-hmm. Well, two things came to mind, big and small, so I'll give you both. Small, but somehow feels so big in my life, is when I first got my first profit for running the Corcoran Group, and I never made any profit year in year. And I was putting that cash back down long before I even had it in my hands. I was always reinvesting, because I wanted to see how far I could go. But in those years when I finally got my first profit, I had about $48,000 or maybe $40 some odd $1,000. I could see, what? We're going to actually have a profit? How did that happen? And I bought my mother and father a brand new car each. I bought my mother a bright blue Pontiac convertible, because she always wanted, blue's her favorite color, she always wanted a convertible her whole life. And I got my father a, what do you call those big ass cars that everybody likes? They float around.
A Suburban, a truck.
Early in this, you know, all the drivers you hire, in the old days, they had those big cars with the big backs. That one of the, Lincoln, not a Continental, Lincoln. Okay. And I had my Uncle Richie and his friend drive it out to Florida and deliver it.
Wow.
I remember at the time, they were so much in disbelief, because we always had a clunky old car with all the kids stuffed in the back. It was always, and all of us learned how to drive. We were always crashing that poor car. How my dad put up with it through store windows. We were like, each kid was learning, it got more dense. But I remember that day, and I'm so happy I thought of it in the moment, because it's bad when you miss these moments. I remember thinking, I'll never feel more satisfaction or richer than I feel in this moment. And it's not that I wish it upon myself, but you know, that's exactly been the truth. I've never felt as rich again, or as endowed, or as lucky, or as fulfilled ever again as that moment, you see? And so that was that, okay.
Sure.
And so I wouldn't say proud of, that was the most satisfying and such, oh my God, okay.
That's cool.
The most overreaching thing I'm most proud about is I proved Sister Stella Marie wrong. I still hate that bitch. She was the nun from hell, and I later learned out that she was buried in the nun yard and that she had a drinking problem. I wish someone had told me that as a kid, that she had a drinking problem. Who knew that nuns drank? Other than Sunday, right? I didn't know either. Okay. And of course, we were raised by nuns in our Catholic school, and they were all great except for the one I had, Sister Stella Marie. So I'm so proud that that her messaging to me that I'd always be stupid, just because I couldn't read, that I didn't let that determine my life, because I had a hard time getting over that, you know, and I had the help. My mother told me I was a genius, so that helps a lot, you know, having somebody on the other side. Sure. But the idea that I've proven again and again, and now it's a weird thing, I'm kind of very thankful to her, because I think because of her I tried so hard. Yeah. Do you know? So really, if she was kind of like an early version of Ramon Simone, you know, she played that role, and I'm so thankful that I got over that. Mostly because not only have I had success as a result of it, but mostly because I keep that message going out to all these dumb kids at school. It's such a sad thing that kids are defined by how they do in school, and yet most successful people I know built their own stuff, weren't good in school. That's been an MO I see. So I feel like I'm lucky to be around to keep getting that message out, you know?
Yeah. You said most successful entrepreneurs have a lower IQ or average IQ, right?
Yes, well, I don't really know that. But what I mean,
they're street smart, they're not book smart.
They're street smart, not book smart. But what I really mean by that is that, you know, that rejection card is a big kahuna in building anything in life, not just business. So they're too stupid to lay low when they've been smacked about. You know, most people get punched, you stay low. I don't want to get punched again. They just keep popping up like a jack in the box. Keep popping up and so that takes a certain lack of intelligence, I think.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Just keep going. You don't think about it too much. Keep going.
A smart guy would lay low, right?
Exactly. I'm glad I'm not that smart.
Yeah.
I'm curious. You talked about the first year you made a profit, $40,000, I think you said.
47, I think it was.
47,562.
Well, I don't know about that part, yeah.
If someone is an entrepreneur right now, let's just say they had their biggest year ever and they had a bunch of extra cash laying around. They're just like, wow, we finally made some money, an extra 100 grand, an extra 300 grand, whatever it is, $1 million bucks. What should they do with that extra money? How should they reinvest it to continue to grow?
Two things I thought of right away. Number one, they shouldn't have that money. Okay? If you're really serious about building a business, you're putting the pedal to the metal, you're spending the money and putting the bets down long before it comes in. So the idea, like I made a mistake that one year I had a profit. Shame on me. I mean, I made something good of it, of course. But you should really have any money coming in over aggressively, targeted towards something that you do well. And I think the best place to put the money, and I work with my entrepreneurs all the time on this, and if they're not so inclined, most people want to put the money in on a new idea, a new version, or a new this. No, the best place to put the money is what has worked. Where have you gotten your sales? Give me the sources, what has worked. That's where you put your money, all in. Pile it up until it stopped working, then you move to something else. But people don't do that. People always like the new stuff, like, oh, but if we hire a PR company, you know, we'll really get, no, the trade show has produced 80% of your money.
Right.
You know.
Showing up and building those relationships yourself,
Whatever has worked for you before, keep repeating, and I just think the money shouldn't be there in the first place. Do you know, my whole life, I opened offices much bigger than I had any business doing. If the minute I had sales in a company and started seeing that we were doing well and I started smelling a profit, like we might get a profit, this thing might really start kicking in, I was out looking for office space. And if I thought I needed 18 desks, I go out looking for 36.
Wow. And
I plunk the money down, because I found that when you threw the money onto your bet in advance, you find a way to make it work. If you wait till the timing's right, wait till you have the profit, guess what? There's a smarter guy out there that's already put the money in your competitor and he's already ahead of you. And it's such a quick market when you're competing. You gotta like, like there's the timer on you, you know, get it going. You have to have it done early, I think.
So invest it back in a thing that's worked before for you until it doesn't work anymore.
And more than you think you could handle. Because human beings who are talented, especially entrepreneurs, are remarkable on making things work when the gun's against their head and they're under fire. But give them a lot of leeway and have them plot out, they start to go to sleep. It's really not healthy for a business.
It's that pressure that allows you to really kind of have more urgency and make it happen.
Well, you're a football player. Did you play better in a game or in practice?
Game.
Yeah, same difference, same old thing.
Yeah. Okay, so you said that was the first thing. You said there was two things potentially.
Did I? What was your question again?
I said if you had a lot of cash left over from the year, you just had extra 100 grand, $1 million, whatever it may be in your business, what would you do with that money?
Okay, I actually answered your question. I meant to say it better. So the two things that I wanted to say was you shouldn't have the money, it should be spent way in advance. And the second thing is spend it on stuff that's worked before.
If you're looking for ways to make more money in your life, then make sure to check out this powerful interview with Grant Cardone.
You could make a bad investment that would still be better than a smart spend.
Really?
I don't really know anything that's a smart spend, but you spend money, when you spend money, you don't get an investment back.